The wind died when Sarfaris reached the Haveli. One moment the air had been alive, whistling through the dry grass, rattling the rusted gate. And the next, it was gone. A sudden stillness swallowed everything. Even the trees seemed to hold their breath. Their branches, black and twisted like old hands, froze mid-sway, as though something unseen had commanded silence. Not a leaf moved. Not a bird called. Sarfaris paused at the edge of the courtyard. His motorcycle engine ticked softly as it cooled behind him. The only sound left in a world that had gone utterly still. Before him, the Haveli loomed in half-light. Its walls were scarred and cracked, crawling with vines that looked almost alive in the dusk. The main door hung slightly open, as if it had been waiting. He felt a pull, not of curiosity, but of something deeper, something that whispered inside his bones. He didn't believe in curses, not really. But standing there, beneath the weight of that silence, even disbelief began to tremble. A faint chill slid across his neck, like fingers made of air. He turned sharply. No one. And yet, it felt as though the entire place was watching him. The trees, the windows, the shadows behind the curtains. Everything seemed to lean closer, listening for his next breath. Sarfaris stepped forward. The gravel cracked under his boots, loud enough to make him wince. Each step toward the Haveli felt heavier than the last. As if he was walking into the memory of someone else's nightmare. At the door, he stopped. It creaked open a little wider on its own. Inside was darkness, thick, patient, and alive. He exhaled once, steadying his heartbeat. Then he crossed the threshold. And behind him, the wind finally returned. But it was not the same wind. It sounded like a sigh. He steps inside. The floor groans beneath his weight, a slow, tired sound, like the house remembering footsteps from long ago. Dust falls like memory. It drifts down in a thin beam of his flashlight, each particle catching the light like ash from something long burnt out. The smell of age and neglect fills his lungs, wood, earth, and something faintly metallic, blood, maybe. The air feels heavy. Not just with dust, but with presence, as though the Haveli has been holding its breath for years, and now exhaled only for him. Every sound seems stretched, slowed, the soft scrape of his boots, the faint creak of distant wood, the heartbeat in his ears. Somewhere deep within the house, something shifts. A curtain fluttering, a whisper that never quite becomes a word. He moves further inside. Each room he passes seems darker than the last, corners deep enough to hide entire worlds. Cobwebs hang like lace from the ceiling beams, and portraits stare down from cracked walls, faces half erased by time, yet still watching. He can feel it now. The weight of eyes. Not human. Not hostile. Just, aware. A chill crawls down his spine. The Haveli isn't just empty. It's waiting that a door creaks open on its own. The sound slices through the silence, long, trembling, deliberate. Sarfaris freezes. He turns his flashlight toward the sound. At the far end of the hallway, one of the old wooden doors has shifted slightly ajar. Just a few inches, enough for darkness to slip through. The air feels colder now, sharp against his skin. His breath fogs faintly in front of him, though it isn't winter. He waits. Listens. Nothing. Then. Tap. A soft footstep. Not his. He feels it more than hears it, the subtle vibration through the old floorboards, like the house itself carrying the sound to him. Another step follows, closer this time. Then another. Slow. Careful. Human. Sarfaris tightens his grip on the flashlight. The beam trembles slightly as he raises it toward the door. Who's there? His voice sounds small against the vast silence. No answer. Only the faint groan of the Haveli breathing through its walls. He takes a cautious step forward. The floor creaks beneath him, and instantly, the other footsteps stop. The silence that follows is heavy, absolute. Even his pulse sounds too loud. He takes another step. And from behind the door comes the sound of movement, a faint rustle, like fabric brushing against stone. He reaches out. Pushes the door open with the tip of his fingers, the hinges scream softly. The beam of his flashlight cuts through the dark, landing on cracked tiles, broken furniture, and a window sealed shut by vines. No one there. He exhales, but before the breath is complete, he hears it again. Tap. Behind him this time. Close. He spins around. But the hallway is empty. Only the dust moves now, swirling gently in the faint beam of his light, as if stirred by someone unseen walking past. For a moment, Sarfaraz can't tell if the sound came from the hall, or from inside his own mind. Then, somewhere deep within the Haveli, another door creaks open. A mirror in the corridor showed his reflection. And 3 faint figures behind him. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light. The mirror was old, its silver worn thin, the glass freckled with black spots of age. His own image shimmered and blurred, bending slightly with each flicker of his flashlight. But then, he saw them. 3 silhouettes. Standing still. Just behind him. Faint. Almost translucent. Like shapes made of smoke and memory. He turned sharply. Nothing there. The corridor stretched empty, the air thick with stillness. He faced the mirror again. The shapes remained. Closer now. His heartbeat drummed in his ears. He stepped nearer to the glass, searching for logic, reflection, anything. The edges of the mirror seemed to darken as he stared. As if it was pulling the light inward, feeding on it. One of the figures tilted its head. Another raised a hand, a slow, graceful motion, almost curious. The third smiled. Sarfaraz stumbled back, his shoulder hitting the damp wall. He blinked, hard. The mirror cleared. Only his reflection stood there now, pale, shaken, breathing too fast that he let out a shaky laugh under his breath, trying to convince himself it was nothing. Old mirrors play tricks, he thought. Old houses play games. But as he turned to walk away, the mirror rippled again. And for the briefest moment, the reflection didn't move with him. It stayed behind. Watching. He turned. Nothing. The corridor behind him lay empty, only shadows stretched along the walls like black ribbons. No figures. No movement. Only silence thick enough to hear his own pulse. He exhaled slowly, his breath unsteady. The sound of it seemed too loud in the dead air. Then he noticed it. A scent. Faint at first. Soft, floral, almost comforting. Roses. Not the clean fragrance of fresh petals, but something older. The scent of roses that had been left too long in a closed room, their sweetness turning heavy and strange. He took a step forward. The air grew warmer. And beneath the perfume of roses came another smell, sharp, bitter, unmistakable. Smoke. Something burning. Sarfaraz's throat tightened. He looked down the corridor again, but the air was clean, no fire, no haze. Still, the scent grew stronger, twisting together, roses and smoke, sweetness and ruin. A sudden memory flashed through his mind, his grandmother's old stories of jinn who left traces of perfume and flame. Where they walk, the air remembers, she used to say. His skin prickled. The smell was everywhere now, circling him like invisible breath. He turned again, faster this time, his flashlight jerking wildly across the walls, nothing. But for one heartbeat, he could swear he heard it. A woman's quiet laugh, distant and echoing, dissolving into the scent of roses. Then the air went still again. And the perfume faded. Leaving only the taste of smoke in his mouth, whispers drifted through the walls. Soft at first, like wind slipping through cracks. Sarfaraz froze. His flashlight flickered once, then steadied. Its narrow beam catching motes of dust that danced in the still air. The sound came again. Not wind. A voice. Low. Feminine. Drawn out like a sigh that carried words only half-formed. Sarfaraz. He turned toward the sound, his heart stuttering. The name wasn't shouted, it was remembered. Spoken with the calm certainty of someone who had said it 1,000 times before. Sarfaraz. It came from the walls themselves. From behind the cracked plaster. From the wooden ribs of the Haveli that seemed to breathe when he wasn't looking. He stepped closer. The wallpaper peeled where moisture had long ago taken root. And beneath it, faint marks. As if someone had dragged their nails across the wall. Lines curling into shapes that almost looked like letters. He raised his hand. And for a moment, he thought he felt warmth seeping from the wall. Like a pulse behind the stone. The whisper came again, closer now. Right behind his ear. You came back. Sarfaraz spun around. Nothing. Only the long corridor stretching behind him. Empty and endless. He could hear his own breathing, fast and uneven. He whispered into the air. Who's there? The reply came soft, almost kind. You don't remember me? The voice faded into a distant hum. As if the walls themselves sighed in disappointment. Then silence. Thick, perfect, terrifying silence. Somewhere deep inside the Haveli. A door clicked shut. And Sarfaraz realized, with a cold certainty, that he wasn't alone. And that whoever knew his name had been waiting for him far longer than he'd ever known. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then steadied, too bright, too white, before dimming again to a trembling glow. Sarfaraz lifted his flashlight, sweeping it along the walls. The portraits, old, dust-choked, their colors fading into shades of brown and shadow. Watched him. Men with dark turbans and stern eyes. Women draped in silks, their smiles faint and unfinished. As if they'd been interrupted halfway through remembering a secret. He stepped closer. The air grew colder near the frames. Each painting seemed older than the one before it. A lineage of faces staring out from forgotten centuries. Then, something moved. Barely. A flicker, quick as breath. He blinked hard. No, not the light. The eyes. One of the portraits, a woman in crimson. Her gaze had shifted. A moment ago, she'd been looking toward the staircase. Now her eyes were on him. Sarfaraz took a slow step back. The boards creaked beneath his shoes. He looked at the next painting. The old man's head had turned, just slightly. His painted pupils glinting with a wet sheen that shouldn't have been there. Another flicker. Every face along the corridor turned, one by one. Their painted eyes following him like predators adjusting to movement. He swung his flashlight, breath catching in his throat. The beam wavered across their faces. Each smile wider now, each expression just a little more alive. A drop of something dark trickled from one frame. He thought it was dust. Then realized it wasn't. A single line of crimson ran down the canvas, cutting across the painted woman's neck. Sarfaraz stumbled backward. The light flickered again, once, twice. And in the split second of darkness, he heard them whisper, soft. Layered. Countless. The voices of the painted, murmuring through the silence. When the light returned, all the portraits were facing forward again. Eyes fixed straight ahead, innocent, unmoving. But Sarfaraz knew. They were watching. And they were waiting for the lights to go out again. He tried to leave. The air had grown too still, the silence too deliberate. Sarfaraz turned down the corridor, heart pounding. The exit door stood at the far end, half open, the night visible beyond. He ran toward it. The moment he crossed the threshold, the smell of roses hit him again. And then he froze. He was standing in the same room. Same cracked ceiling. Same faint burn marks on the floor. Same portraits, their eyes dimly gleaming in the weak light. He blinked hard. Turned again. Opened another door, this time the one to his left. A narrow passage. He stepped through quickly, refusing to look behind. But when he emerged, his stomach dropped. The same room. He turned again, trying the next one, the kitchen door, the side hall, even the old servant's passage. Each one opened to the same impossible space. That same cold room, waiting like a trap that had learned his name. The air grew thick. He could hear his own heartbeat echoing off the walls. He whispered under his breath. "No, this isn't real." The lights flickered once, long enough to make every shadow stretch toward him. Then the whisper returned. "Sarfaris." He spun around. This time, he wasn't alone. 3 women stood at the far end of the room. Their figures half lost in the gloom, faces pale in the trembling light. The first wore white, her veil torn, her hands folded neatly before her as if in prayer. The second, draped in deep red, her eyes lined with kohl, her lips curved in a knowing smile. And the third, the youngest, stood barefoot, her hair unbound, her gaze locked on him with something that wasn't entirely human. They didn't move. They didn't breathe. But their presence filled the air, like the house itself had exhaled them into being. Sarfaris took a step back. The floor groaned under him. His voice cracked. "Who are you?" The woman in red tilted her head slightly. Her smile widened, slow, deliberate, impossible. "We were waiting for you," she said. And all 3 stepped forward at once. Their eyes glowed with sorrow. Not the kind born from human pain, but the sorrow of something that had seen too much. That had watched centuries pass like moments. Their smiles, those faint, impossible smiles, held something far older. Older than the Haveli. Older than the land beneath it. Older than the idea of mercy itself. Sarfaris could feel it the way you feel heat before a fire. That quiet hum of power just beneath the surface. The air seemed to bend around them. The shadows deepening as though even the darkness bowed to their presence. The woman in white looked at him first. Her eyes shimmered like moonlight through tears. "You came back," she whispered. And though the words were soft, they carried the weight of a promise broken long ago. The woman in red stepped forward next. Her smile did not comfort, it remembered. "You left the door open," she said. Her voice had an echo, like a memory repeating itself. "Now it cannot close." Sarfaris's throat tightened. He didn't understand her words. But his body did, some part of him deep inside. Something older than reason. Felt what she meant. And the youngest, the one with unbound hair, tilted her head and whispered, "Do you still dream of us?" He stumbled back, shaking his head. "I don't know you," he breathed. But even as he said it, a fragment of a vision, a flash of firelight. A courtyard drenched in rain. A woman's hand reaching for his. Broke through the edges of his mind. The women's smiles deepened, not with joy, but recognition. The air pulsed, slow, like a heartbeat beneath the floorboards. For a moment, Sarfaris could almost feel the house breathing with them. Their eyes glowed brighter now. Not red, not white, not any color he could name. Just ancient. Like light passing through water that had never seen the sun. And in that terrible, beautiful glow, Sarfaris understood something he could never unlearn. They weren't strangers, Sarfaris finally understood. All this time, he thought he'd been trapped. lost inside twisting corridors and impossible doors. He thought the Haveli was a maze built to break him. A curse with no way out. But standing there, beneath the trembling light, with the three women watching in silence, he knew. The Haveli hadn't trapped him. It had chosen him. Every locked door, every whisper, every scent of roses and smoke. None of it had been meant to keep him prisoner. It had been calling him home. The walls around him seemed to exhale. Old plaster sighing like lungs that had waited too long to breathe. The air shimmered faintly. And for the first time, he saw what had been hidden beneath the ruin. Traces of gold paint, sacred patterns. Symbols that pulsed faintly as though remembering light. The woman in white lowered her gaze. "You hear it now," she murmured. "The house remembers you."